Willie and I have been running our mouths for months with previews and recaps, and I have so much fun doing that. But this podcast started 5 or 6 years ago, having the best wrestlers in the world on, and I miss a bit of that. So I was texting with you after CKLV. I'm like, dude, what you just did, I feel like I'm president of the Bearclaw fan club, and I've given myself the pass that we have like this best, it's the best group chat in wrestling. Me, Bashada, Felters, Willie. And I always write your name Bearclaw. I know how to spell your name because I do it right in graphics. Otherwise, people cry. But I've given myself the official pass to, like, that's how you put Bearclaw. But how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on today. Something funny. So my name in high school, some guy at the state tournament called me Bearclaw my freshman year, and we just kind of like kept running with it.
Yeah. It looks like I might be losing your...
Did I lose you?
Yeah, it looks like your connection was breaking up there for a minute.
Oh, am I caught back up now, though?
Yeah, you should be back now. I can see and hear you.
Okay. All right, good. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But yeah, so my name is actually pronounced Barraclough.
Okay.
But the nickname just came out in like 8th or 9th grade, and somebody called me Bearclaw, and we were like, holy crap, that's actually kind of cool. And yeah, we just like kind of stuck with it. So yeah, like our whole family, everybody in Utah calls us like the Bearclaws.
I love that. I thought it was just like French or something, you know, where it's like the O-U-G-H is just a W or something. Honestly, I don't know if it was like one of the Penn State kids the first time or somebody. The first time I ever heard your name, they definitely said Bearclaw. Like,
yeah.
Did you ever watch Did you watch the New Girl show?
No.
So it's a sitcom. Zoe Deschanel. It's a funny one. My wife got me into it. But there's a character in there named Bearclaw, and when I told my wife I gotta go to the office, I'm gonna have Bearclaw on the podcast, and she's like, Bearclaw, like looking at the character. But all right, man. So you're at Utah Valley right now. You're killing it, and I want to talk about that. But let's rewind a bit. We were actually gonna do a show last year when you decided to transfer, and you know it's funny because there's a lot of different instances of why somebody transfers and the context of it. And you were kind of a unique one, you know, graduating Penn State and then transferring. What first went into the decision post-graduation to transfer and wrestle another year?
Yeah, I mean, I just love wrestling, and life is so short, and we only get so many years to like be cool, right? And then after, it's just college is done. And so for me, I just like wanted my one shot, you know, and because I knew I was like, I could be that guy. And you know, I'd always like had worked my butt off and like knew in my heart that I could be a national champ, you know, and I've had the capability of doing it for a long time. But as you know, like those Penn State wrestlers, they're just, all those guys are tough, every single one of them. And yeah, I just want to make it clear too that like I still love my coaches out there as well, you know, the Penn State coaches, and I'm so grateful for them because I wouldn't be where I am today without them. And you know, like for me, there's no bad blood at all. You know, like those guys are still like some of my best friends, and you know, I just like wanted my one shot, you know, to just see what like Terrell was capable of, and just like get to fully experience like competing in like the Cliff Keen tournament and being able to, you know, just really find out what I want, and like, you know, find out what I want and who I want people to remember me, and how like I competed, you know, and being like, wow, Terrell was like tough, you know, or, you know, he was a fun wrestler to watch. He has like a really cool story, or yeah, that was just kind of like what was important to me. It's like I just wanted to like test myself, but I also it was hard. It was hard. It was like not, that process was like not fun, right?
I
like,
bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you're having to leave a place that you'd been for the last 4 years, and Just like you just like have a little family out there, and um, but when I did make the decision, I had some talks with Coach Cael, and I love the guy. He's one of the coolest dudes on planet Earth, and um, I was just like, I think this is just what I need to do. Like this, at the end of the day, this is kind of what's going to make me happy, and I just want my one shot, where I can just kind of focus on me a little bit and kind of reap the benefits, right? Like just like get to like just be live the full experience, especially in college wrestling. Like I just said, like you have 4 years to wrestle and you're not in college anymore. Like you're
Yeah,
done,
it goes by
right?
quick.
You can't go back, right? It goes by so college goes by faster than high school. It's crazy. And but when I did hit the portal, it was so funny. So this is when like Coach Hall, right?
Yeah.
All this news was coming out. I've always known who Coach Hall was, and so I get my name in the portal, and I kind of said goodbye. We just got done with finals and said bye to like all my friends, and just told all the coaches that I'm gonna miss them and that they're
Mhm.
so grateful for what they did for me. And so then I got all my stuff home, and I get home and I can't remember. Coach Hall had just moved here. Right, he had started getting all of his stuff moved in.
Yep.
And so I went on a couple visits for 2 weeks. And so Coach Hall had been calling me. He's like, hey, I'm going to come see you. I'm going to come see you. I said, all right. And when I got done doing kind of all like my travel visits, I was like, I'm just going to get them done so then I could just focus and figure out what I'm going to do. And, I just like prayed about it. I literally went through every scenario I could think of and what was going to be best for me.
Mhm.
And just because I feel like at the end of the day, if you do what you need to do and you take all the facts that you have in front of you, and then if you do whatever, just think about it, pray about it, and you feel like that's the right choice, you make that choice and you never look back, right? Like just that's the best thing you can do is just never look back,
Yep.
no second guessing. And but it was funny. So Coach Hall, I'm like, all right, Coach, I'm coming, and he comes over because I'm about an hour and 5 minutes north. So Utah Valley's in Orem, about 35 minutes from Salt Lake.
Yep.
I'm kind of far north. And he comes over and we start getting talking. But I had been calling Coach Hall over this whole time. So it's not like we were in first meeting, but
Yeah.
he comes over to my house and, my mom and dad are sitting here and we're asking him how the move's going and how the team is, and just like a huge step up, right? Just like rebuilding something, like
Yep.
right. He just took a huge risk, right? And but he's like a great coach. Obviously, he's had like a top 3 team at NC State for like the last 5-6 years,
Mhm.
and he comes over and he has a game plan for me every single day throughout
That's
the year,
awesome.
every single day. How we're training, what we're focusing on, and of course, right, it's not exact. We're making little adjustments like throughout the year.
Yep.
Like after Cliff Keen, we took an extra day, like an extra recovery day, because I had like 7 matches. He's like, all right, we're gonna just do we're gonna do film work today, or just like making minor adjustments. But literally, it was like, this is how we're gonna preseason train. This is what we're gonna do for in-season training. Hey, these matches, he's like, I'm lining up these tough teams like for you,
Mhm. That's
right?
awesome.
Like first guy off rip, it was like Garvin,
Right.
just a stud,
Yep.
just a stud, right? He's a tough dude, and he's no joke, and and when we went out there, he was like, here we go, this is it, and he's like but he just like, I love Coach Hall so much because like he just like believes in me
Mhm.
and just like believes in that, like not saying that nobody else has ever not believed in me, but he just like is putting his like whole person
Yeah.
and like time into me, and like just molding like a team. It's so crazy. Just like even the attitude change of in the past, and just like guys here just like love wrestling now. Like people are coming to Utah Valley and visiting because of Coach Hall and like all the other coaches that we have here, and just the energy is so much different. And at the same time, something that I was taking into consideration is like, hey, I got to start thinking about kind of a long play move, right? Like this is
Yeah.
and I encourage anybody who is going into college, right, or maybe in the same situation, they you got to start thinking about I say that I'm old, but I got to start thinking about kind of a long play move, right? Like,
Yeah.
I got to be able to start making, if I wanted to live in Utah, right, I need to start making connections living in Utah, to try and figure out what I wanted to do, or if I wanted to continue wrestling after. Like, was there an RTC program there?
Yeah.
These are all the things that like in my brainstorming process, like I thought about. And I was like, I want to live in Utah, and that, I took that into consideration. But like my overall like thought and what I felt in my heart was right is just that like I knew if I came to Utah Valley that Coach Hall was going to do everything he could to get me to be a national champ, and that he would get the partners that I need. He would have the coaching that I need. We'd have the nutrition that I need, and at the same time, like he is just like a great human being, like what better person to have as a coach, right? There's like nobody, if you have like a great person as a coach, you just like want to be like that. And,
Yeah.
There's just like a good, peaceful feeling when you come in the room, and just,
And he is too.
I feel
Like,
like,
one of the questions that I was going to bring up, and this is a good timing, is that this is his first year. And, you're a big part of the light on Utah Valley right now, being a top 5 ranked guy in the country. How does it kind of feel to help a head coach like that establish their footing in a program?
yeah, it's been really cool. Like even like when we wrestled Oklahoma State, like almost 6,000 people showed up. It was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like people are excited about this, and uh, like people like Utah Valley is going to be a wrestling school, right? You have like all these studs who are just like committing here, and they're from Utah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like top 10 guys in the country, and it's been like super fun. I don't think that for me, I really think about. Uh, for me, I don't think about like necessarily building, right? That we're building something, but like
Yep.
we're just like enjoying the moment and just like making the most out of the time that we have. Because if we do that, like I guarantee, I know all the coaches here plan, right? They're always planning. They're always in their office, always. But for me, it's just like I got a job to do, and that's my job. I want to go out there and score some points, and at the end of
Yeah.
the day, if I do that, I know I'm going to win. So,
And it is such a big difference, too, because you went from a guy who was a workhorse in the room, but you did see limited matches. Last year, 3 duels and 3
yeah,
tournaments. You were behind an
yeah,
NCAA runner-up in Messenbrink. So it's not even like,
yeah,
again, I was talking to my wife about this because she's like a very casual wrestling fan, but she understands it. I'm like, it's crazy when you have a school like Penn State in the depth that they have. And then
yeah,
you go in your shoes. It's so unique too because you go from being this workhorse in the room to, and you did good when you filled in last year and in prior years. Like you weren't a guy who's like, oh, they're just throwing him out to the wolves. Like you came out and it was competitive, even when you came up to
yeah,
74. But now you go to Utah Valley and it's like you're the guy. How for
yeah,
you, how have
yeah.
you embraced that change in role? I'm sure there's more leadership. I'm sure there's more pressure. Like, what has
Yeah.
that been like switching schools?
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. Like you just like look up to like people, like even the guys that I wrestle with at Penn State. Like I looked up to them so much, and the way, or the ones that I looked up to the most, like I try and carry myself just like them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like one of my favorite guys out there is just like Aaron Brooks. You know, and he's just like a stellar human being, but you'd never know that he's an absolute monster. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
just like such a nice guy, and like I just like try to be like that. You know, and I try to be a good competitor and a respectful competitor. And um, in terms of like leadership roles, I feel like I did have a leadership role on the Penn State squad as well. You know, like even though I might have not been in the lineup every time, I think my teammates really respected me for the amount of hard work that I put in. And
Mm-hmm.
if they ever needed anything, like Carter, he is a workhorse. That dude, I don't think he ever stops.
He
And
doesn't.
I'm serious. I swear to gosh, like I got in there pretty early or pretty late sometimes, and he'd still be in there. It's crazy. Just and but whenever he wanted to go like some extra goes or something, or needed like help getting his weight down at night, he'd call me and be like, "I'm on my way."
That's awesome.
You know, and just yeah, and I don't know. I felt like I was able to just learn so much, right? Like the extra time that I had put in with Carter at night, or like, I mean, I love all those guys. You know, I got to wrestle like with Levi and Mitch, and there's so many more guys in there. You know, and um, if it weren't for them, right, I probably wouldn't be in the situation that I am. Right, like just be like I always wanted to be right there with them,
Yeah.
and if the coaches ever needed to throw me in, like I was like, I'm gonna go in. Um, but at Utah Valley, it's been so awesome too, because it's like I get to teach like all these. You know, Coach Hall's got a super young class this year. A lot of them are freshmen, and there's quite a few that are actually redshirting as well. But just like teaching them like a new mindset about like even wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just it's something that they don't even like think about, which is kind of crazy, right? We're always like, oh, wrestling's so hard, wrestling it's tough, like, but right, like we can just like switch our mindset and just be like, okay, I'm gonna go out and just like try and score as many points as I can, and just like wrestle hard and be stingy. You know, I always like this thing that it's like one of my favorite quotes. It's like, be a gamer, right?
Yeah.
Just like be a gamer, like be tough, be scrappy, like be somebody that like is fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like it's so cool to see some of the kids who are like starting to kind of grasp on to the
Yeah.
concept, right? And just like that mindset, they're just like getting better. And you're like, holy shoot, like these kids they're getting it. Like, let's go, you know? And like that's what I'm telling you. I'm like, this program is shooting for the stars, you know?
I love that. It's cool too to see
Yeah.
like, it's funny. I'm probably gonna put that in the timestamps. Like, I bring up you being such a workhorse in the room, and you're like, workhorse? No, that's Carter Starocci. Like giving kudos and attaboys to other Penn State guys. And when we see transfers, especially in college wrestling, the fan base sometimes turns on them. And I get it to a degree. Like
Yeah.
you have a guy at your program, he leaves and you're bummed. But with you, it's crazy. Like I've been tweeting about you all year, what you're doing, and it's like I do these stock up reports, and it's like Bearclaw stock up, Bearclaw stock up. And early in the season, I've got a lot of Penn State fans, and it's like, how do you not root for this kid? Do you feel like that support, like you still have all the support? Obviously, I see the Penn State guys engage with you and anything I share about you. So like I see it, but like, do you feel that support from Penn State wrestlers, the fans, and all that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I tried to say hi to them as much as I could, you know, and I still text some of them to this day, you know, some of like the donors that were a part of the Penn State program, and just like check in with them. And yeah, I just like I said, I miss them a ton, and it was like I said, I don't think there was any. It's not like I got up and left out of spite that like
Yeah.
another good guy like was recruited, right? It was like I'm
Yep.
just gonna go in there and like do my absolute best, right? And that was just And I kind of like took pride in that a little bit. I was just like, I'm doing everything that I can to be my best and compete with Levi or Mitch, or Bartlett. I wrestled Bartlett off my first 2 years, and they're studs. They're good. Obviously, right?
Understatement.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's they're great for a reason. But like it's super cool that or I'd hope they'd say that I was right there with them and
Mhm.
just competing with them. And yeah, but it's been so cool is like kind of we were talking about like a leadership role, and like I've been in those shoes, right? And like these kids that are just like super hungry to learn, right? From Coach Hall or me, I wouldn't consider myself a coach, but I think I show an example of like how we should wrestle,
Yep.
or like what we should be doing in the room, or what we should be focusing on. Um, but they're just like catching on, and it's been like that's been such a cool feeling just to be able to like teach somebody who's like just hungry to learn,
Yeah.
and that they're just like using that knowledge and like that mindset because they're getting better, and you like are seeing it. Like you know we're not a team even in consideration, and now we have like some of our guys beating top 10 guys by like they lost by like a point over the
Mhm.
weekend, or they're just like catching and just inch by inch.
Another thing that's cool too is that, well, let me ask this one first. So, because this is kind of relevant to that. Another thing that people are split on, especially with you, is man, why didn't he transfer out 2-3 years ago? He's this good. He could have
Yeah,
been starting here or there. There was a lot of like, I feel like there's a lot of programs that don't have the depth. So, like you said, sometimes guys are transferring in and out because of another transfer or somebody was recruited, whatever. For you, like you just stuck it out the whole time and then you
yeah,
left once you graduated. What would you
yeah.
say to those people who are wondering, like, why didn't you transfer out earlier in your career? And also, I add on to that, do you think if you did, you would be as successful as you have been so far this season?
Yeah, I think I would have been super successful, or like been pretty successful anywhere I went. But for me, it was it was again. I made my decision when I was a freshman or coming out of high school. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the place that I'm gonna go, and I'm not gonna have any second thoughts about it. And my dad even told me, he was like, Terrell, you are walking into a room full of monsters, pretty
Yeah.
much, right? Like just I remember my first week I wrestled with my first day I wrestled with Nick Lee, and then my second day I wrestled with Zane, and then the third day I wrestled with Coach Casey, and he like rode me out for like 2.5 hours and won't let me go. It was horrible. I was like, what am I
Isn't it
doing?
funny that those are the days that, like, when you say, like, I didn't wrestle in college, I wrestled in high school, it wasn't any good, but, like, I miss those days. And it's like, you would never think, like, when you're wrestling Nick Lee, Zane, Casey all back to back, you're taking a beating, you're tired, all this stuff. And then you're going to
Yeah,
look back at it like, those are the good old days. Like,
yeah,
it's
they are.
crazy.
It was awesome, but it's like it's a part of the game. Like even like at Utah Valley now, like that's just how you learn.
Yep.
Like wrestling is one of those things. Like in soccer and football, it could be like, okay, you got to run this route. All right, you got to run this route, or you got to pass the ball this way, or kick it this way.
Mm-hmm.
No, wrestling is like you got to like feel it to almost learn. Be like, oh yeah, that's why that works. And like, oh okay, but yeah,
So the next, I want to kind of switch gears to CKLV because I always try to have people on here. There's always like I feel like I have like a running list of guys. I'm like, man, it'd be awesome to have on. And people always DM me like, you should have so and so on. I'm like, let's do it when the timing's right. And I feel like
yeah,
the timing is right now because CKLV, man, you lose a match that you just shouldn't have, and I'm sure you feel the
yeah,
same way. You lose to Jack Thompson, who I think you're a lot better than, and I understand the sport. Anybody can win any day, no doubt. But with how you're wrestling this year, you shouldn't lose that match. And instead of getting down on yourself, which Willie and I just did a whole show about, not a whole show about this, but in our show, we talked about backside forfeits, not wrestling on the backside, being bummed because you lost and then not wrestling the same. But you lose in the first round and then you rattle off 6 straight wins. You don't give up a takedown. And I think that speaks so much to your character, to grit, not just not giving up a takedown and how good you were, but just wrestling the 6 matches. And like you said, you had to take an extra a day off from training because of wrestling 7 matches. Talk about that Thompson match, losing it, and then your mentality wrestling through the backside.
Yeah. This should go for any wrestler, I think, too. It's just like when you're at this level, like everybody's good.
Yeah.
And like you should never, ever, he wrestled smart. He's a tough opponent, and hopefully we can get the rematch, but he's a great wrestler. And, you should just have respect and never look like over any guy because everybody's good. You make it to Division I and are wrestling at like Cliff Keen or are wrestling at your conference tournament or make it to the national tournament, like everybody's good. And it was hard. I was like, I was undefeated up until that point, and I was thinking about the finals, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to make it to the finals. And I just like wasn't being present minded. I think it's like super important to kind of just like ground yourself, and you got to take it like one match at a time. You can't worry about finals when you haven't even wrestled your first match, or can't, what I'm saying? And I think I just kind of got a little ahead of myself, and it was a really wild week. We had finals going on. I was up till midnight pretty much every single night. I was exhausted. I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this school thing gonna, I got my last final today. We got back like Sunday night. I had a final on Monday. I had Tuesday. And and like Thursday night, after we had gotten my weight down, I had to present a marketing presentation for one of my business classes that night. It was like my final. I was like, what the? So that was a learning experience, just like got to be able to control what you can control. And you got to take one thing at a time. And for me, I just learned that I just needed to take it one match at a time and just focus on what I can do in that match, and get my mind mentally ready for every match.
Yeah, and I think too, like you said, there's an aspect of being headstrong that I think is required to make that adjustment in real time of losing and then saying I was focused on the finals. Like you're critiquing yourself in real time and having to make adjustments. And, it's evident from your Penn State days and everything else that you are headstrong. You can see the character, the grit you have. What do you think helped you develop that mindset? I do a lot of work at my agency with Wrestling Mindset. Amazing company. They're helping a lot of wrestlers kind of focus on mindset that I think helps them off and on the mat. For you, your mindset, like what helped you develop the mindset that you have today, and how much of a role has that played?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a game changer. I mean, you're like, 1 second you could think that you're on top of the world, and then, right, for example, you see it with like little kids sometimes, right? They get taken down and they think like the match is over.
Yeah.
Match is 6 minutes. It's 7 minutes. Like you got to battle, right? You got to battle. Like the match ain't over, or you see some, like sometimes like you have like a really good guy and they'll just like gas. And then the other guy just like starts making their way back, right? And the match isn't over until like the last whistle. And in terms of mindset, and wrestling is so cool too, because, and I would say this in like most martial arts sports too, especially like fighting as well, but you can like really see like who somebody is like when they compete. And for me, it was just like I remember like after my first match, just like telling myself, I was like, I am not quitting on myself. There is no way. And it was
Yeah.
a lot of mental energy. I bet when you do all your mindset training, it is a lot of energy to like have, and it takes time too to have like a healthy state of mind. Like it's super important to like have your peace or whatever it may be for you. But for me, it was just like I had to go back and be like, oh, Terrell, where you at, dude? We gotta take care of you. What's going on? And I have a couple things that I have a performance person too that I work on every 2 weeks, and I kind of just like went back through a couple of those things, and I was like, all right, what's going on? And it's a decision. At the end of the day, it's a decision. I'm going to feel this way. I'm going to treat somebody this way. Um, I'm going to compete this way, right? This is the person who I want to be. And for me, just like out of self love is like, I'm just not going to quit on Terrell. There's no way.
Yeah.
Even if I do, even if I do lose again, that part didn't go through my brain. I was like, of course not. Right.
Yeah.
But, I was like, I'm just not quitting on Terrell. There is no way. Right. I have worked way too hard for me to, I was like, I came here to really see what I was made of. And as I'm kind of thinking about this, Coach Hall, he's so funny. So I like reggae music. I'm a reggae guy.
Okay.
And he comes over, and it's just like I said, I was just going through this, and we have this little joke, and it's like one of my favorite songs, and it's written by a band called Sticky Fingers. And he just goes, sticky fingers, baby, sticky fingers, find the flow. I'm like, oh, he's right, And like, that's what I just thought about. We just like had a joke, and we were just joking around. Like before the rest of my matches, he kept just saying, sticky fingers, baby, sticky fingers, just kind of like
It's funny
flow.
how much a coach like knows their athletes like that and can make adjustments even to be able to meet you where you're at in verbiage and lingo that you want, or what speaks to you. That's awesome.
It's crazy too. And I mean, and for me, it was just like, just finding the fun in it, being like, dude, I got to come back and try and beat like 6 tough dudes. Like, here we go. Round 1.
You ran the gauntlet on that backside too. Like Sammy Sasso is just the number of guys in that. And it is funny because you're still ranked fourth in the country despite losing to Thompson. And what you've done and what you've done in the first part of the season, like you have such high expectations now for myself, many fans who have seen what you're capable of. What are your expectations for yourself moving forward now the rest of the season?
Yeah. Probably like every other person who wrestles at this level, they want to be a national champ. And I think about that like every day.
Yeah.
Every day. So that's always number one. But at the same time, like something I've been thinking about this year, and I would encourage like all kids in high school to start thinking about this too. And it's something that Coach Hall has been like kind of helping me out with. It's just not just winning, right?
Yeah.
Like winning's so fun, but like, why not dominate? Right? Why not go out there and like get a major every match? Why not go out there and like, why beat somebody by a point when you can beat them by 8?
Right. Yeah.
Like learning or like getting the mindset of just like, you look at like some of the best athletes on like planet Earth, like Michael, for you young kids, Michael Phelps, greatest swimmer of all time. Like he not only like won, like he destroyed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in wrestling, it might be a little bit harder because you actually have to like break somebody's will to do that, right?
Right.
Like you are actually imposing your will on like another human being. But like, yeah, like learning to kind of flip the mindset of just being like, hey, I just want to win, but like in my matches, I'm thinking about how can I score? How can I like get to this guy's leg again?
Yeah.
Right. How am I going to just like make this guy tired? Like I kind of take pride in that a little bit. Just being like, hey, people know that I will go 7 minutes with you.
Yep.
Does not matter who you are. Like I'm going to go 7 minutes with you either way. And yeah, just like kind of flipping the mindset, just being like, hey, how can we like score an extra takedown? Right? You got like 45 seconds left. You might be up by like 4. Let's go get another one. Or
Mm-hmm.
let's get like another turn on top. I think top wrestling is like super important. I think it's still evolving. I think you look at like our high school kids like coming out, they're like beating national champions. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. They're
You
so
have some
good,
studs coming out. Yeah. And like we're still evolving. It's so cool to like just see it evolve. But like working on like top wrestling, you can take a guy down and turn him twice and you almost have a tech. Like it's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
4-point near fall, that's wild.
It is.
Well, with a 3-point takedown, like.
Let me ask you this too, because being ranked, being a top 5 guy in the country surely comes with no shortage of pressure and expectations. When you are a top 5 guy, and I feel like your schedule too, it was set up where you saw so many tough guys early in the season that you were able to really show what you're capable of, get a high ranking, and now the target's kind of on your back. Like you're a top guy that people can beat to increase their ranking, to get a better seat, all these things. How do you maintain focus and composure, while chasing a national championship and kind of for the first time in your career, really having that target on your back where somebody's like, he's a top 5 guy. I want to be even more now than they probably would have before.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't really think of it as like a target on my back. I know like probably a lot of people like have that mindset. We're like all human, like, oh, I got a target on my back now. But like for me, it's like I worked for that. That's like mine, right? That's like you're not gonna take that away from me. I work for this, kind of deal. But it was a cool, and it's just like it all goes back to mindset too. I remember this was like 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember, but this is one where I was back at Penn State. It's funny you bring this up, but Coach Cael said something, and it has always stuck with me. And it was just kind of about like that mindset switch too. It's like he just was like, and it was the way that he said it too, and it was just like, I like having a target on my back. It's like he didn't care, right? It's like I like being the best. He's like an underdog story is always cool, but being number one's the better. Like.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody had a target on his back like he did in college. So if anybody knows, it's him.
Yeah, and it was just like cool to even like such a cool dude too. And it's not like you would never know that he was a cocky dude. He's just kind of a funny guy.
He's competitive. He's just so competitive. I remember when I used to be in the Penn State room all the time. Now that I have 2 little kids, it's harder to get down there. But it's like he'd get out in dodgeball and come sit on the bleachers. And it's like it's political, man. It's dirty politics. Like
it is politics. It's politics.
Have you brought dodgeball over to Utah Valley yet?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love that.
It's like I just said, you just like trying to spread some like cool knowledge and but yeah, we take it that knowledge that that stays in our room. It's not like we're trying to share it with the whole world or anything like that. Like something that coaches at Penn State have taken a long time to develop, and right, like now, like Coach Hall, he's got some great stuff, legendary stuff.
That.
It's just brewing, and it's just like for him too. It's like he's just building, right? This is his first year. Now he's been here not even a year yet. He moved in May.
Right. It's not even about half a year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't even moved in. He was still like flying back and forth to get all of his stuff here.
Yeah.
And just like it's so cool too. I mean, you guys probably don't see it, but Coach Hall, like he is constantly like just walking around campus, talking with the president of the school. He comes back, sets up an appointment with like donors, people who have never even like seen wrestling. When he goes out to eat, he like reaches out to people sitting at other tables that he's like, hey, you should come and watch wrestling matches. And it's just
Love
like
that.
starting to just like we just sold out another match for like Oregon State, which has never happened,
And you can feel the momentum. I saw the shirts that you guys did for the one duel, and I'm like, these shirts are so freaking cool. And
yeah,
all these little things help a program grow so much, and there's obviously so much excitement. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, really, that you're only there for another couple of months collegiately,
I know,
because it
I
is
know,
like I can tell how much you're actually buying into the program, buying into Coach Hall, and you do
yeah,
only have 3 months left. So what is it these next
yeah,
3 months that you're looking forward to the most, would you say?
just scoring points. I just like I go in there and you just like work on yourself every day, and I just like going in there. It's just something that I love to do, and I think that's kind of like what makes it so special. Like that it doesn't last forever, and it's the fact that it like your wrestling life, it's limited, and so you need to just if you love it, just like do your absolute best at it, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't like go your way, then you can just be happy about it.
Yeah.
If you know that you put your heart, mind, and soul into it, and just did everything that you could.
I think we lost you, but we're back.
Oh, are we back?
I
Sorry about that.
I think we're back. I don't see you moving, but I can hear you. I hear audio now.
Okay, I'm sitting out in the parking lot, so I tried to get a quiet spot.
It's all good. So yeah, that makes sense. And then too, you do have the rest of the season remaining, so I don't want to jump the gun too much. But do you know what's next as far as post March? Do you want to stick around RTC, compete freestyle? Have you thought about it much? Like for the Bearclaw fans out there who are curious, what are you thinking?
I will always be around helping Coach Hall. I can tell you that. And
Love
for
that.
people who want to come to UVU, I will be here for you, and I will be your partner. And it's really cool. You have Joey Lavalle, a two-time NCAA finalist, who's here too. Like, don't forget about that. Like, he's recently been in the game, and he's on the RTC and looking for partners to train with. And um, he's one tough dude. Let me tell you, he loves to scrap. And so, yeah, I think the RTC is a very likely option for me. But as of right now, I'm just trying to take it day by day and get these
Yeah,
finals done, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
Gosh
Last
dang it.
last thing here, and then I'm gonna let you go. Because I was talking to someone the other day, and I had a theory that sometimes a lower level wrestler may get more out of the sport than someone that's really good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird theory, but it's like I was never any good in high school, and I was able to, within 4 years of high school, launch a company. And I've been running that
Yeah.
company 16 years now. It's been crazy successful by the grace of God. And so much of what I've learned and attribute to my success comes from wrestling. And it's like, I feel like wrestlers make good employees, wrestlers make good employers. Like wrestling instills so much in you. And I'm just curious from your perspective, some of the things that, you were a 4-time Utah State champ, I think. Like you've been at such a high level for so long. What would you say this sport has really taught you?
Yeah, for everybody, I feel like it means something a little bit different. But for me, it was just like I feel like my journey has been kind of like a spiritual journey a little bit,
Yeah.
and just learning how to like love Terrell and love myself in every situation, like the good, the bad, and just you feel like you're wise, but I'm really not. But
Yeah.
you just like take it. You just learn to like take it day by day, and it's just like crazy to think that it's already December, and you're like,
I
holy
know.
crap, that first part of the season just flew by. Like
2 weeks from today's
I'm so grateful
Christmas.
for it,
It's
and
wild.
yeah, it's wild, and yeah, for me, it's just like I'm just going to do my best. I'm going to be grateful for what I have right now. And whenever I have the chance to walk out there on the mat, you can count on Terrell going and scoring some points, that's what I decided, and just, you're going to make a decision, just do it, right? If you want to be somebody or if you want to be successful, it's just a decision. You want to be a good wrestler, make the decision, but there's a lot more that goes beyond that. There's a diet. You put in extra workouts. You stay extra after practice. You get 30 more reps. You go in and you get a nutritionist. You go in with the coaches and you do film. And there's a lot more to it than just once you make this decision, kind of like I said, never look back, right? That's what you want to do. And for me, it was like, I'm gonna make sure that I get the most out of this year. And I'm trying to do everything in my power to do that, whether that be in doing good in school or making connections, helping build a program and build a really good team for Coach Hall, start building a legacy. That's a decision that I made, in June or July, and that's been my mindset. Just be Terrell and just be a good person, and everything will take care of itself.
I love that, man. This is some good stuff. I'm sure fans are going to be excited to listen to this. Last thing, I'm going to let you go. What's up next for you? You guys have a duel this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Who's that against?
2 weeks. Yeah, we duel Oregon State at UVU.
Yeah, is that this weekend? No, next weekend, right? Is it next? Yeah, I think it's next week.
Next weekend, yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome,
Which
man.
will be really fun. There'll be a lot of good matchups, especially for. Oh, sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No, go ahead. I think there was just a delay on the.
Oh no.
I think there was just a delay. That's probably what happened.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're good. What were you gonna say? About the Oregon State
But
duel.
yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys. And just last thing. Oh yeah, it's the 20th.
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. What were you gonna say? Sorry, I feel like I interrupted you because there must have been a slight delay.
Yeah. Last thing is just that if you need somebody to believe in you and you're looking for a really good place to go and get better at wrestling and make connections and are looking to just be a better person at the end of the day and a better wrestler and, be an All-American or national champ, UVU is the place for you.
I love that. Yeah, I'm excited. The Oregon State-Utah Valley duel is going to be good, so everybody should tune into that next weekend. Go follow Bearclaw if you're not. I'll make sure he's linked up below. But I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for taking a little bit today. I know you got a busy day. I kind of hope I didn't cut your workout too short, but I appreciate it, man.
No, it was great.
Awesome, man. We'll speak soon.
Well, hey, thank you so much.
And the beat goes on.